I never thought a joke could end a marriage, but that night taught me how fragile respect really is. I am Marissa, 37, married to Daniel for 11 years, and until recently I believed humor meant safety. We had friends over, wine flowing, laughter bouncing off the kitchen walls, the kind of evening that feels harmless and familiar. I felt relaxed, maybe too relaxed, forgetting that some lines only look small until you cross them once. At the time, I did not know I was about to watch my life quietly tilt sideways forever, without warning or mercy afterward. Daniel's friend Callum had been visiting from Manchester, tall, broad, loud in that charming way people excuse because it fills silence. He joked about everything, his gym routine, his dating disasters, even Daniel's cooking. Everyone laughed, including me. Somewhere between my second glass of wine and wanting to sound clever, I made a comment. I said something about Callum being bigger than my husband, meant as a joke, half whispered, half laughed. The room went quiet for half a second, then laughter returned, thinner this time. I looked at Daniel, expecting an eye roll or a smirk. Instead, he smiled politely, the kind of smile that never reaches the eyes. He didn't correct me. He didn't joke back. He just nodded, took a sip of his drink, and changed the subject. In that moment, I felt a flicker of discomfort, but I brushed it away. Couples tease each other, right? I told myself it meant nothing. I had no idea that silence can sometimes be louder than anger. The night ended normally on the surface. Dishes were stacked, hugs exchanged, doors closed. When the house finally settled into quiet, I expected Daniel to say something, maybe tease me back in private. He didn't. He went upstairs, showered, and got into bed without a word. I lay there replaying my joke, suddenly hearing it the way he might have heard it. Not playful, not harmless, just unnecessary. I reached for him, touched his arm, and he shifted slightly, creating space. The next morning, Daniel was calm, almost distant in a way that felt deliberate. He made coffee, read his phone, and spoke only when needed. I finally asked if something was wrong. He looked at me for a long moment, measuring his words, then said, "No, I just learned something last night." That was it. No accusations, no raised voice. Just that sentence, heavy and final. I felt defensive immediately, ready to explain, to minimize, to joke it away again. But he didn't give me the opening. Days passed, and the distance didn't shrink. If anything, it grew more defined. Daniel still paid the bills, still asked how my day was, still did everything he always had. What changed was the warmth, the easy affection, the way he used to look at me like I was his person. I tried apologizing, telling him I hadn't meant it, that it was just a joke. He listened, nodded, and said, "I know." Somehow, that response hurt more than anger would have. One evening, a week later, I pressed him harder. I told him he was overreacting, that everyone jokes, that it wasn't that deep. He didn't interrupt me. When I finished, he said quietly, "You joked about my dignity in front of people. Once is enough." His voice wasn't cold. It was settled, like a decision had already been made. That was when I realized this wasn't about Callum or size or humor. It was about respect and the fact that I had treated it like something flexible. After that conversation, Daniel began pulling away in ways that were subtle but unmistakable. He stopped initiating intimacy. He stopped sharing his thoughts. He spent more time at work, at the gym, anywhere that wasn't home. I felt panic creeping in, the kind that makes you overcorrect. I complimented him constantly, tried to be affectionate, tried to prove I still saw him the way I always had. He accepted none of it, not rudely, just without emotion. One night, I asked him directly if he still wanted to be married to me. He didn't answer right away. He looked tired, older somehow, like something had worn him down quietly. Then he said, "I'm deciding whether I want to stay where I'm not taken seriously." I cried that night after he fell asleep, realizing too late that intention doesn't erase impact. I hadn't cheated. I hadn't screamed. I hadn't betrayed him in any obvious way. But I had chipped something essential. A month later, Daniel told me he needed space. He said he was staying with his brother for a while. There was no argument. He packed a bag, kissed my forehead, and thanked me for the years we had. That word, thanked, echoed in my head long after the door closed. Friends told me he was being dramatic. Some said men should be able to take a joke. But none of them were married to him. None of them saw what that moment had cost. I spend a lot of time alone now, replaying that night, wishing I had chosen kindness over cleverness. I understand something I didn't before. Respect isn't loud. It doesn't announce when it's leaving. It just withdraws, and once it does, love follows quietly behind it. I didn't lose my marriage because of a joke. I lost it because I forgot that the person beside me trusted me to protect him, not perform for a room.